Centralization and nepotism are opposites. Centralization takes smaller groups and unites them into a larger group. Nepotism favors kinship relationships over a larger social structure. So, for example, you work for a company and you hire your close friends and family rather than the best qualified applicant. Hiring the best qualified applicant is what is in the best interest of the organization as a whole, but you're not putting the organization first, you're putting your own friends and family first. That's nepotism. So every centralization process has to overcome nepotism. One of the ways in which centralizing institutions, whether they be corporations or governments, one of the ways in which they combat nepotism is through empathy, specifically victimary empathy. There are two main kinds of empathy, both of which are necessary for any kind of collectivism, whether that be nepotism on the basis of kinship and friendship, or whether that is mass society, nationalism, globalism, Marxism, communism, socialism, fascism. Any of these mass ideologies, any of these civilizational projects require empathy, but not nepotistic empathy, not kinship or friendship-based empathy, but they require victimary empathy. Victimary empathy is the main tool that centralizing institutions use to combat nepotism. So, in the case of nepotism, empathy is the driving motive force. You want your friends and family to do well. You feel badly for them if they're not doing well. You take joy and pleasure when they do well, and so you favor them. In order to overcome nepotistic empathy, you could decrease nepotistic empathy in itself. There are a number of ways you could increase or decrease nepotistic empathy. One would be to increase sociopathy, meaning just to decrease people's empathy overall for friends and family, to decrease the love that people feel for their friends and family could be accomplished through alienation. So alienating people from their family is a great way to decrease empathy that people have within their family. Alienating people from friends is a great way to decrease the empathy they feel for their friends. So someone who hates their family and who has no friends is the optimal subject of a centralizing system. Put in other words, let's say we have a nepotistic tribe. Let's call them the Tangerine tribe. The Tangerine tribe have an ethno-religion where they are commanded to eat tangerines on Sundays. You know, they tend to paint themselves orange, and they like to juggle. So there are different mores and rituals and traditions of the Tangerine tribe that make them special. The Tangerine tribe is also nepotistic in that if any member of the Tangerine tribe immigrates to a country he'll attempt to bring over his fellow Tangerinians. If he obtains a position at a company, he'll attempt to employ his fellow Tangerinians. So the Tangerinians, they are nepotistic. So there are a couple of ways that a centralizing organization can deal with the problem of Tangerinian nepotism. One way is through intermarriage between Tangerinians and non-Tangerinians. So if a Tangerinian has a non-Tangerinian wife, his nepotism is going to be divided. Now, it's not to say that nepotism reduces to zero, but certainly intertribal marriages are a way historically that empires have reduced nepotism. And this is pretty clearly seen throughout medieval politics or even the ancient world, where a princess would be married off from one tribe or one state or one principality or one kingdom to the king of another kingdom, and in doing so would unite the two kingdoms. So through the intermarriage of the two bloodlines, the local, regional, tribal, ethnic nepotism of the two factions is reduced, and they're brought into a common centralization with each other. So this can happen at the top level of society, at the elite level, but it can also happen at the bottom level of society. So intermarriage is a key concept in terms of assimilation, or you could say that intermarriage is a key vector of assimilation, that a group becomes assimilated when it has sufficiently intermarried with other populations in a cohort. So intermarriage is one way that you can undermine tribal nepotism. You can also undermine tribal nepotism by promoting individuals who are childless. Having children is implicitly a nepotistic act, unless one plans to, harm one's children or sell one's children or give away one's children, put one's children up for adoption, and those things happen. But in general, the conscious decision to become pregnant, which is, with the rise of contraception, most pregnancies that come to term that are not aborted are on some level voluntary, right? We're not living in a pre-contraception age where pregnancies are accidental. Most pregnancies today are intentional, they're voluntary. So when a woman becomes pregnant and she carries the baby through to term, through 9 months, gives birth, she is implicitly signing up for 18 years of devoting her time and resources to that child over and above that of other children. That is, she's going to house the child, she's going to feed the child, she is going to clothe the child, she is going to be responsible for the socialization of the child outside of school, so transporting the child to and from sports, transporting the child to and from sport activities, transporting the child from birthday parties, and so there's an incredible amount of transportation, housing, clothing, feeding, time taken. When the child becomes sick, you have to get the child medical care. So it's an incredible emotional investment to have children. Even just one child is an emotional investment, let alone having 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And the more children that you have, the more nepotism you're engaged with. Having children is a nepotistic act, and this is why there has been a Marxist deconstruction of the family as a fundamentally patriarchal bourgeois institution because it is anti-centralization. I think I have a 10-minute cap on this one. Talk to you later.